My hand was on the doorknob. 3 months of clothes in a duffel bag. Lease signed on a studio apartment across town. Divorce attorney's number already in my phone. 7 years of marriage over. I was done. Done with the coldness. Done with the silence. Done with feeling like a ghost in my own home. I was 30 seconds from walking out of that door and never coming back. And then I heard her voice, coming from the bedroom, muffled, shaking. She didn't know I was still in the hallway. She didn't know I could hear every single word. And what she said ... destroyed me. Not because it confirmed my worst fears, but because it shattered every assumption I'd built my exit on. Let me take you back. My name doesn't matter. Yours probably sounds different, but I guarantee you felt this. Maybe you're feeling it right now. We met in college. She was the girl everyone noticed, but nobody could pin down, sharp, funny, self-contained. I was the steady one. The dependable guy. Friends first, then more, then everything. We got married young. 24 and 23. Everyone said we were rushing. Her parents worried I wasn't ambitious enough. My friend said she was high maintenance. We didn't care. For the first 3 years, we were that couple. You know the one. Finishing each other's sentences. Inside jokes that annoyed everyone else. Weekend road trips and 2 a.m. Conversations about parallel universes and whether we'd find each other in every one. Yeah, that couple. But somewhere around year 4, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic. No cheating. No betrayal. No screaming match that severed everything. It debuted us erosion. She got promoted. Started working late. I felt proud. I was proud, but also ... invisible. I'd cook dinner. She'd eat while scrolling her phone. I'd suggest a weekend away. She'd say she was too tired. I'd reach for her in bed. She'd kiss my forehead and roll over. Slowly, methodically, I became a roommate, and here's the poison that nearly killed us. I never said anything. I told myself I was being understanding, giving her space, being the supportive husband. But really, I was building a case. Every time she chose work over me, I added it to the list. Every time she sighed when I tried to talk, I cataloged it. Every unreturned "I love you" documented. I became a prosecutor in my own marriage, collecting evidence for a trial she didn't know was happening. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. Once you decide someone doesn't love you, every action becomes proof. She's tired. She hates me. She's quiet. She's planning to leave. She smiles at her phone. She's got someone else. By year 6, I was convinced. She didn't love me anymore? Maybe she never did. Maybe I was just ... convenient. The safe choice. The placeholder until something better came along. I started imagining my exit. I'd picture her coming home to an empty apartment. Would she cry? Would she even notice? I played out the conversation 1,000 times. I can't do this anymore. You haven't loved me in years. I deserve to be someone's priority. 3 months ago, I made the decision. I was going to leave. Not in anger. Not in revenge. Just ... surrender. I found an apartment. 1 bedroom, 4th floor, overlooking a parking lot. It was depressing and perfect. I started moving things slowly. A box of books. Old college stuff. Things she wouldn't notice missing. I told myself I'd do it clean. Write a letter. Pack while she was at work. Leave my key on the counter. No drama, just ... gone. The day I chose was a Tuesday. She had a late meeting. I have 3 hours. I started in the closet. Clothes first. Then the bathroom toothbrush, razors, the cologne she bought me 2 Christmases ago that I never wore because she never seemed to notice anyway. Every item I packed felt like evidence I was right. See, she won't even miss this. She probably won't even ask where it went. I was methodical. Almost calm. Until I got to the nightstand. Inside was a photo. US on our wedding day. Not the professional ones, the candid shot her sister took right after the ceremony. We're not looking at the camera. We're looking at each other like we just discovered gravity. I held it for a long time. And then I put it face down in the drawer and kept packing. By 6 p.m., everything was in the duffel bag by the door. I'd written the letter. 4 drafts. Each one colder than the last. I think we both know this hasn't been working. I'll always care about you, but I can't keep being invisible. I hope you find what you're looking for. I'm going to do the same. Signed. Sealed. I put it on the kitchen counter next to her favorite mug. All I had to do was leave, pick up the bag, walk out, start over. But my hands were shaking, and I kept thinking, just go. Just go. If you wait until she gets home, you'll lose your nerve. So I grabbed the bag, walked to the door, put my hand on the knob, and then I heard the bedroom door creak open behind me. My heart stopped. She was home early. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. But I didn't hear footsteps. Didn't hear her voice calling my name. Instead, I heard ... crying, soft, muffled, coming from the bedroom. She didn't know I was there. I should have left. That was the plan, right? Clean exit. No confrontation. But something in the sound of her voice, broken, raw, unguarded, froze me. I put the bag down, slowly, silently, and I moved closer to the bedroom door. She was on the phone. I could hear it now. Her voice, thick with tears. I don't know what to do anymore, Sarah. Sarah, her sister. I feel him slipping away, and I don't know how to stop it. I stopped breathing. He doesn't talk to me anymore. He just exists around me. Like I'm some obligation he's stuck with. Wait, what? What? I try, Sarah, I swear I try. But every time I open my mouth, I feel like I'm annoying him. Like he's just tolerating me. Her voice cracked. I think he's going to leave me. Silence. Then quieter. Maybe he should. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I know I've been distant. I know I've been burying myself in work. But it's because I don't know how to reach him anymore. Every time I try, he looks at me like I'm a stranger. She sobbed. I miss him, Sarah. I miss my husband. But I think I lost him a long time ago. And I don't even know when. I love him so much it physically hurts. But I think he's done. I think he's just waiting for the right time to tell me. Another pause. What if I'm not enough? What if I never was? I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been seconds. Could have been hours. Every word she said was a mirror. Every fear she named, I'd felt it too. She thought I was pulling away. I thought she thought she was losing me. I was packing to leave her. She thought she wasn't enough. I thought I was invisible. We'd been living in parallel hells. Both convinced the other had stopped caring. Both too proud, too scared, too assumption drunk to just ... ask. I heard her say goodbye to her sister. Heard the phone drop onto the bed. Heard her try to muffle her sobs in a pillow. And I made a choice. Not the one I'd planned. I stood up. Wiped my own face. I hadn't even realized I was crying. And I pushed the door open. She looked at me like I was a ghost. How long have you been? Long enough. My voice barely worked. She stood up, wiping her eyes, trying to compose herself. I didn't know you were home. I was leaving. The words just came out. I packed a bag. I found an apartment. I wrote you a letter. I was walking out that door, and I was never coming back. Her face went white. What? Because I thought you didn't love me anymore? I thought I was nothing to you. She started crying again. Not the muffled kind. The kind that bends you in half. You were leaving? I was. And then I heard you. Silence. You thought I didn't love you? Her voice was so small. I thought you were done with me. That I was just in the way. She crossed the room. Not slow, not tentative. She grabbed my face with both hands and looked at me like she was trying to download 7 years of unsaid words directly into my skull. You are the only thing in my life that matters. The only thing. Do you understand me? Then why does it feel like I lost you? Because I thought I lost you first. We stood there, both wrecked, both wrong, both so desperately, stupidly in love that we'd nearly destroyed everything trying to protect ourselves from a loss that only existed in our heads. We talked all night. Not the surface stuff, the real things. She told me she'd been working late because she wanted to make me proud. Because early in our marriage, I'd mentioned wanting to travel more, and she was trying to get promoted so we could afford it. I told her I'd been pulling away because every time I tried to connect, she seemed exhausted and I didn't want to be another burden. She thought my silence was resentment. I thought her distance was rejection. We cried. We laughed at how absurd it was. We got angry at ourselves, at the time we wasted, at how close we came. And then we made promises. Real ones, no more assumptions. No more silent scorekeeping. No more pride. If something hurts, we say it. If something's wrong, we face it. Together. That was 3 months ago. We're not perfect and now. We still have hard days. But we talk. God, we talk. About everything. The stuff that scares us. The stuff that's boring. The stuff we think might make the other person angry. We say I love you like we mean it because we do, and because we both know how close we came to never saying it again. I think about that night a lot. About the duffel bag I unpacked at 3 a.m. About the letter I tore up and burned in the sink. About the apartment lease I never signed. About the life I almost walked into alone, convinced I was the victim. Never knowing she was in the next room crying over losing me. Here's what I learned. We are unreliable narrators of our own lives. We curate evidence, we build cases. We decide someone has stopped loving us. And then we interpret every action through that lens until we've constructed an entire reality that doesn't exist. She wasn't distant because she stopped caring. She was distant because she was afraid I had, and I never asked. I just left, or almost did. Psychologists talk about the illusion of transparency, the belief that our internal states are obvious to others. I thought my hurt was visible. She thought hers was. Neither of us realized the other was drowning in the same silence. Dr. John Gottman, the relationship researcher, says the biggest predictor of divorce isn't conflict. It's contempt, but I'd add this, it's assumption. The moment you stop checking your story against reality, the moment you decide you know what your partner thinks or feels without asking, you're writing fiction. And fiction can feel so real that you'll burn down your life to escape a plot that was never true. If I hadn't stopped, if I hadn't heard her, if I'd walked out that door 30 seconds earlier, I'd be alone right now. In a studio apartment, convinced I did the right thing. Convinced she didn't care. Never knowing that she was breaking apart. In the same house at the same time for the same reasons. We almost became a statistic. Another couple who grew apart. Another marriage that just didn't work out. But the truth is uglier and simpler. We stopped talking, and we nearly paid for that silence with the rest of our lives, Dot. So here's my question for you. What story are you telling yourself right now about your partner? Your spouse, your relationship. Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? Your relationship. Your relationship. Or is it a narrative you've built from selective evidence, confirmation bias, and fear? Have you asked? Have you really, vulnerably, terrifyingly asked? Or are you packing a bag in your mind, cataloging grievances, waiting for the right moment to walk out on something that might not even be broken, just unspoken? I'm not saying every relationship can be saved. Some betrayals are real, some distances are unbridgeable, but some maybe more than we want to admit are just two people who stopped asking and started assuming. Two people who loved each other so much that the fear of losing it made them destroy it themselves. I almost lost her, not to another man, not to betrayal, not to anything real. I almost lost her to silence, to pride, to the story I told myself when I stopped listening to hers. That duffel bag is still in the closet. Sometimes I see it. And I remember I was 30 seconds from the worst decision of my life. And the only thing that saved me was hearing the truth I was too scared to ask for. Don't wait to hear it by accident. Ask before it's too late. Before the bag is packed. Before the door closes. Ask. Some marriages end with a bang. Mine almost ended with a silence. Talk to each other. Please. Because the person you're about to leave might be the person who's terrified of losing you. And you'll never know unless you turn around and face them instead of walking away into a story you made up in your own head. I turned around, it saved my life, it saved us. Maybe it's time you turned around too. The night I almost left, I thought I knew everything. I thought I had all the evidence. I thought the verdict was clear. But I was wrong about everything except one thing. Something was broken. I just didn't realize it was our communication, not our love. And that's fixable. If you're willing to be humiliated by how wrong you were. If you're willing to admit you've been operating on assumptions instead of facts. If you're willing to hear something that completely dismantles the narrative you've been living in. That's the hardest part, not the confession. Not the tears, not even the fear of rejection, it's the ego death. The moment you realize you've been the villain in your own story, casting your partner as the enemy when they were just as lost and scared as you were. I spent months building a case against her. Months. And in one 5-minute phone call I wasn't supposed to hear, the entire case fell apart. Every piece of evidence I'd collected reinterpreted. Every cold shoulder I documented explained. Every assumption I'd made shattered. She wasn't choosing work over me, she was working for us. She wasn't tired of me. She was tired from carrying the weight of feeling me slip away. She wasn't distant. She was protecting herself from the rejection she thought was coming. And I was doing the exact same thing. We were both in defensive positions, shields up, convinced the other person was the threat, when really the threat was the silence between us. The assumptions. The stories we told ourselves instead of each other. You want to know the most messed up part? We were both right about one thing. We were losing each other. That part was true. We just had the cause completely backwards. I thought she didn't love me, so I withdrew. She felt me withdraw, assumed. She'd done something wrong and buried herself in work to cope. I saw her bury herself in work and took it as confirmation she didn't care. She saw me getting quieter and took it as confirmation I was done. Round and round. A death spiral built, entirely on misread signals and unchecked assumptions. Therapists call it the pursuer-distancer pattern. One person feels disconnected and pursues. The other feels overwhelmed and distances. The pursuer interprets the distance as rejection and either pursues harder or gives up entirely. The distancer feels even more pressure and pulls back further. Eventually, you're two people on opposite ends of the same room, both feeling abandoned, both convinced they're the victim. And technically, you both are. But you're also both the cause. In our case, we'd both moved into the give up entirely phase. I was packing bags. She was crying to her sister. We were both planning our exits, both mourning the relationship, both convinced the other person would be relieved when it finally ended. Neither of us had the courage to just ask, "Do you still love me?" Because I still love you, and I'm terrified you don't feel the same. That question, that simple, vulnerable, terrifying question, could have saved us months of suffering, but we didn't ask it. Because asking means risking the answer. And sometimes it feels safer to live in painful assumption than to face a potentially devastating truth. Except the assumption was devastating us anyway, slowly, quietly. We were dying by 1,000 cuts. Self-inflicted, all because we were too proud or too scared to just bleed out loud. The moment I heard her say, "I love him so much, it physically hurts." That's when I realized what we'd done. We'd taken our love for each other and weaponized it against ourselves. We loved each other so much that the thought of being rejected by the other person was unbearable. So instead of risking that rejection by being vulnerable, we just preemptively rejected ourselves. We left before we could be left. We built walls before we could be hurt. We wrote the ending ourselves because at least then we had control. But here's the thing about control, it's a myth. You can't control whether someone loves you. You can't control whether they stay. You can only control whether you're honest about what you feel and what you need. And we'd given up that control. We'd handed it over to fear, to assumption, to the little voice in our heads that said, "You're not enough," and they're going to leave anyway. And why bother trying? When I pushed that bedroom door open, I was giving up control. I was stepping into the unknown. I didn't know if she'd be angry that I'd been listening. I didn't know if she'd confirm my worst fears. I didn't know if the conversation would end in goodbye. But I knew I couldn't walk out that door without knowing the truth. Not the truth I'd constructed. The real truth. From her mouth. In her words. And the real truth destroyed me. In the best possible way. It destroyed the story I'd been telling myself. It destroyed my carefully built case. It destroyed my righteous victim narrative. And in destroying all of that, it saved us. Because you can't rebuild on a foundation of lies, even lies you've told yourself. You have to burn it down and start from scratch, from truth, From I'm scared and I miss you and I thought I lost you. That's where we started over. Not from you did this wrong or you hurt me here, but from I'm terrified and I love you and I don't want to lose this. That's the foundation we're building on now, and it's messy. It's not neat. Some days, we still fall into old patterns. She gets quiet, I get paranoid. We have to stop and say, wait, what are we actually doing right now? But we catch it now. We name it. We drag it into the light instead of letting it fester in the dark. Because that's what almost killed us. The dark. The unspoken. The assumed. We let things fester. We let resentments build. We let fear make our decisions. And we almost lost everything because of it. Not because we didn't love each other, but because we loved each other in silence. And love in silence looks an awful lot like indifference. It looks like neglect. It looks like the end. So yeah. I almost ended our marriage. I was 30 seconds away. Hand on the doorknob. Bag packed. Letter written. Done. And then I heard what she said when I wasn't supposed to. I heard the truth I was too scared to ask for. The truth that she was just as broken and scared and in love as I was. And it changed everything. Not because it was easy after that. It wasn't. We had hard conversations. We had to own our stuff. I had to admit I'd been building a case instead of building a connection. She had to admit she'd been avoiding intimacy because she was afraid of my rejection. We both had to sit in the discomfort of realizing we'd almost destroyed the best thing in our lives because we were too stubborn to just be vulnerable, but we did it. We sat in it. We faced it. Together, and we're still here. Still fighting for it. Still choosing each other. Every single day. Not because it's easy, but because we know what the alternative looks like. We've seen it. We've packed for it. We've written the goodbye letter. And we're never going back there. So if you're standing at your own door right now, bag in hand, convinced it's over, I'm asking you to stop. Just for a second. Put the bag down. And ask yourself, do I know this is true? Or have I decided it's true? Have I asked? Have I been vulnerable enough to really ask? Or am I running from a story I made up? Because if I'd walked out that door, I'd have spent the rest of my life believing a lie. Believing she didn't love me. Believing I wasn't enough. Believing it just didn't work out. And I'd have been wrong. Completely, devastatingly wrong. And I'd never have known it. Don't let that be you. Don't walk away from something real because you're afraid it isn't. Risk it. Be vulnerable. Be terrified. But ask. You might be surprised what you hear. You might be devastated. But at least you'll know. And knowledge, even painful knowledge, is better than living in a beautiful lie that leads you somewhere lonely. I'm grateful every single day that I heard her. That I stopped. That I turned around instead of walking away. Because the life I almost walked into alone, bitter, convinced I was the victim, that's not a life. That's just existence. And I don't want to exist. I want to live. With her. In truth. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. So here I am. 3 months later. Still married. Still in love. Still working on it. Still grateful I stopped. Still haunted by how close I came. Still seeing that duffel bag in the closet and remembering 30 seconds. That's all it was. 30 seconds between the worst decision of my life and the best one. Between walking away and turning around. Between assumption and truth. Choose truth. Even when it's terrifying. Especially when it's terrifying. Because the alternative living in a story you made up while the person you love suffers in silence right next to you. That's not living. That's not love. That's just two people drowning separately in the same house. We almost drowned. But we didn't. We're here. We're breathing. We're talking. We're asking instead of assuming. And it's saving us. Every single day. Maybe it can save you too. If you're brave enough to ask. If you're humble enough to be wrong. If you're strong enough to hear the truth, whatever it is. Ask. Before the bag is packed. Before the door closes. Before it's too late. Just ask. You might save your life. You might save both of your lives. I know. Because that's exactly what happened to me.